Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of the Astroneer build-along video. Now if you've not seen the previous parts, I do implore you to check them out, because in those parts we cover how to make everything that you see right here. Now in this fourth part, it's going to be a little bit similar to part 2, because essentially we're going to kind of be creating a matrix essentially like this. We already have the addition totally worked out from the last part, so again, if you don't quite understand it, or if you haven't really seen that video, again, I definitely implore you to go check it out, because it will lead you right into where we're going to be building off from today. So what we're going to be working on is we are going to be working on actually displaying the sum correctly on these two display boards right here. Now, there are a couple of different ways we could do this. We could set up the whole generator matrix. We could set up a couple of different like cascading switches and stuff like that. But as I was thinking over it, the easiest way to do this is just going to be setting up an array of switches. That's just going to be the easiest way. It's going to be a little bit annoying because we're going to need so many of them, but that's what I think is going to be the easiest way to do this. Now, we have 4 different options, and we're going to be able to display 14 different numbers that we need to tell the difference between every single one of them. So in order to do that, we need a 4x14 switch array. So that is what we're going to start with first. 2, 3, 4, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, so one of the other things that I do like to do is on your terrain tool, I set the deform speed to 0 and then the size to maximum. So that way, you know, I can get rid of all these resources without actually removing any of the terrain or whatnot. That's just kind of a little bit of a helpful trick that I've come up with over my time of playing. So this is quite the large switch array. And there are, as I said, different ways to do this. This one seems, in my opinion, to be one of the simpler ones, just because we're going to have to be deciding between so many different inputs. We technically could break it out and figure out which inputs we're going to need to display a 0 through 9 on, and then which inputs we're going to need to display a 0 or a 1 on the second display board, like the tens place display board. That's totally possible. Except that would take quite a bit of logic. This is the simplest logic-wise, even if it might not be the simplest size-wise. So that's kind of what I was going for here, just making sure that I could set this up in pretty much the easiest way that I possibly could without kind of complicating things too much. So now it's just going to be a fun time of connecting all of these switches together. And even still, as you can see, it only took like a minute to set up. It really didn't take that long. All of these are going to have to feed into power sensors. And later on, as I mentioned, this is the 4th part. We are going to be finishing up addition today. At some point, probably within like another week's time or something like that, I will work through how to do the subtraction. And subtraction will be added to our calculator. Now, multiplication, as I may have alluded to in some of the earlier videos, is a very difficult thing to do, because essentially you add something X amount of times, and for the amount of space that we have, it's not really that feasible. It still is something that we can possibly consider, and if I can think of an easy way to do it, we definitely will. But right now, I'm going to start putting out more of these power sensors, and these guys are going to be in power gained or lost mode, because essentially we want these to behave very similar to some of the other logic arrays that we've already created. We want to be able to display the number when it comes through, but we want to remove it the second the logic is gone. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We're also going to need to do our fancy little splitting of an RTG. Now, the good thing is I did prepare this array first, so we can basically break this out into as much space as we would like, and we'll get rid of those rocks as well. Let's grab our splitters now. The splitters should be here. And I'm going to match it to every 2 columns, so 2, 2, 2. We should need 7 of these. Then we'll go into roughly like 4-ish, and then maybe like 2 or so. 3 and 4, 1, 2, 1. So remember, as I did say, we don't care about how much power. So in previous renditions, which honestly I might make another video on how I did like the risk computer and the first calculator, I might kind of put out just kind of like a little retro thing on that, because it's kind of surprising how all of that managed to function. But this, because it doesn't matter how much power we actually get, it's a piece of cake just to do it this way. Just be able to split up an RTG signal into as many different parts as we need, because that's what makes things easy. And then we'll grab our handy dandy medium A platform, or medium A platform, connect that in, grab an RTG real fast, and boom, what do you know? We have our whole array set up. Except now we need to figure out what we want to do with this. So we're going to leave all these switches on for the moment, and we're going to need to multiplex all of these guys out into a series of button repeaters. Now, if you guys remember, it's kind of like something I did over here where I had a button repeater assigned to basically each and every one of these rows. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing here, except because we have 14 and the button repeaters only have 12, we're going to need 2 of these guys per. So these button repeaters are just going to be tied to every single one of these switches. Because, like we did with the other arrays, we want all of each of these individual channels to stand for a singular combination of our output. Now at the moment, they don't stand for a singular combination each. They're all open, so they all stand for the same combination. Actually, we needed to do this, not that. There we go. We're gonna just create all of our little output nodes that we can draw from as we start to wire all of this up. There we are. And then attach there. Okay, so now we can start connecting all of these guys. We'll start with the further ones. And again, I like to see the green dot. That's just my preference, but you can really put these wherever. So as soon as we get all of these guys wired up, as I said, we're going to be starting to determine which one of these guys corresponds with an output where. This is going to basically be going through all of these and figuring out the binary representation. It's not going to be super complicated, but it will rely on binary knowledge. So I know I have kind of touched upon binary in the past. And again, I do implore you to go check out some binary if you are not too familiar with it, because it is very fascinating. It's, again, how computers speak, how computers talk, and all that type of stuff. So definitely very interesting to know, especially if you're interested in this type of stuff. I know I have been getting quite a few comments on some of these videos being like, this is so complicated, this is so over my head, and I get it. I do. This is what I am studying in school. This is my passion. This is what I like to learn about. So for someone who, doesn't have the most interest in it, I get it can be complex and a little bit over the top. But again, if you are interested in it, then it is definitely something you should go and look at, because it's going to be a fundamental knowledge for everything. And if you're even more savvy with than just binary, there has been some talks of actually going to 3-state logic instead of 2-state. So that's another topic that we can discuss. That's something that doesn't quite exist in Astroneer. Actually, you know what? It technically does. Technically it does. Maybe that'll be something interesting that we'll discuss as kind of like a little special topic sometime. But for now, I'm just rambling about binary while I'm just attaching wires. So we're going into streamer T-Hill mode, where I'm just talking about the most basic of things as I'm doing things, because you know what? It kills time. But regardless, we are pretty much just wiring these up, which is why I have been rambling. As soon as we do all of these, we'll start going into what the actual binary representations mean. But again, the one thing that you guys are going to need to remember about these binary representations is it is technically flipped, because we want the power to flow through all of these guys when we have a specific event triggered. And right now, the event that we have triggered is no power flowing through any of them. So we're going to need to make sure that we, set the no power flowing through any of them to be the selected result. And that's going to be 0, because no power flowing through anything should mean that we have 0 displayed on our board, which is exactly what we should do once we get this last pin connected. There we go. All right, so these buttons are going to trigger every single one of these guys down the line, which is very important because these are our bits that come from here. So this is our least significant bit. So this one goes to here. And did I just hear a cable pin disconnect? I thought I heard something out of like my right ear somewhere. Something that may have disconnected somewhere. 0 and 11. 0, 7. Yep, we lost a couple of these guys. So sometimes when you do that stretching technique and you go a little bit further, for some reason it seems like sometimes some of the cable pins like to just hop off and disappear. If you keep your ears open and you do hear something like that, stop what you're doing immediately and just try to figure out where it came from, because that can be very, very annoying to fix later. So as I said, this is going to correspond to 0. So we want this guy to go press our... Did we just lose him again? We did. We just lost these again. Sometimes this can be the fault of a faulty button. So I'm just going to place a new button down. We'll just get this resorted. Because, again, if this happens way too much, we don't want it to happen while we're mid-operation. Because if it happens mid-operation, then that's going to be a very difficult issue. So this is another one of those things that you guys kind of just need to keep your eyes open for while doing debugging like this. The cable pins can be finicky sometimes, especially with the amount of cable pins that we did just attach. They don't like being stretched further than they need to go, so that can certainly happen. So again, what we're going to display is we're going to be... We just lost them again. That one same button. It keeps being so difficult. All right, well, we'll have to solve that in a moment. So if we click this is just going to display a 0 on one screen. So we need to make sure that we can display a 0 on both screens. Oh, that's our negative sign. The 0 is this one, excuse me. So we're going to need to make sure that we display a 0 on both screens. So for now, let's just connect all of these guys. So we're going to start with 0 right here. 0 is going to go to this one on the left. And then it's going to go to the other one on this side right there. Perfect. This one is going to be 0, 1. So we're again going to need to attach to 0. And then this one's going to attach to number 1. There we are. This one will attach to 0, 2. 0. Oh, actually, technically all these guys are on, so as soon as we turn this off, we're going to trigger all of them. So this is going to be a bit of an issue now that I'm realizing. We definitely should have turned some of these switches off before we started wiring this up, but you know what? We've already started doing it. There's not really much we can do now, so it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with fixing our display boards a little bit afterwards. 0, 1, 2, 3. This one is 4. So again, 0, 4. There's 0. And there's 4. This one goes to 0, 5. 0 and 5. Then 0, 6. We're slowly getting up there, don't worry. And we're getting closer, so it's a little bit easier to do all these. 0, 6. 0, 7. This one is 0, 8. 0 and 8 is right here. Is that the right button? Yeah, so this button triggers this button. If we only did one, we'd only get like a partial response. So I did just want to make sure that we were triggering the right button there. 0 and 9. Perfect. So now we tick over. Now we tick over to 1, 0. So that's where we start triggering that button right there, as well as going back to our initial stages here. Again, this is how we opted to do this. There are different ways to do it, as I have said pretty much about every single thing that we've done so far. But it just depends on what you want to, how you want things to go. So it is entirely up to you and your decision. It's 1. What was this last one? This last one was 1, 1. So this one's 1, 2. Actually, we don't have a 1, 4. This one's 1, 3. Where'd this 1 and 3 is here. We actually need another channel path. I did forget a channel path. Okay. We're just going to tack on our 15 right at the end because I did forget an extra channel path. I do apologize. Once again, this is another one of those debugging instances where something ends up happening and I completely forgot to add another path in. So, you know what? This is gonna have to do. So, if we ever need some extenders, I like to pop these on my shoulders, on my shoulder slots, because if you press the key corresponding to that shoulder spot, it'll just pop out immediately, which is very convenient. Then we need another power sensor. So yeah, debugging, huh? Debugging, really amazing. Okay, so this one is going to be 1, 5. So we just got to make sure that we attach this one to the right one. 1 and 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. Okay, so we have all those guys wired up now. Again, these switches need to basically connect to this last one at the end now, because I did forget about this instance, which is kind of an issue. It was a little bit of an oversight on my part, you know. Wait, do we need this? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, this one needs to go to 14, not 15. Yeah, 7 plus 7 does not equal 15. Okay. Well, yeah, this is all the stuff that goes through my head when I'm making these things work. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is pretty much the tried and true. This is exactly what you should expect when you're doing something like this. A little bit of debugging as you go because things don't always go the way that they plan, but you know what? We're making it work. It's all gonna come together nicely as soon as we figure out how to set these guys properly. Because again, we do need to remember that 14 is all the way at the side, which is going to be a little bit of an issue. So this channel is going to represent 0, and 0 is currently what we are at right now. How do we do these? This one's the least significant bit. So this one would be 1, 0, 0. So because we have most of them for zeros right now, this would lead to 1 with 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And because, again, these are currently zeros, we want these to be open because that's where they're supposed to be. We want this one to be closed because we are not at 1 right now. So the next one would be 0, 1, 0, 0. This is correct for a 0. This is incorrect for a 1, and then 0, 0. Then we do 1, 1, 0, 0. Then we do 0, 0, 1, 0. Then we do 1, 0, 1, 0. Then we do 0, 1, 1, 0. Then we do 1, 1, come on, 1, 0. Then we do, wait, hold on, was that 1, 1, 1, 0? So, yeah, 0, 0, 0, 1. Then we do 1, 0, 0, 1. Then we do 0, 1, 0, 1. Then 1, 1, 0, 1. Then we do 0, 0, 1, 1. Then we do 1, 0, 1, 1. And then we do 0, 1, 1, and 1. Perfect. Okay, so those should be the proper numbers that we need. Again, this all got screwed up just because we were basically turning off all of those power sensors when we had them on. Essentially, we can reset it back to 0, 0, 0 manually because that's what we should be at right now. And honestly, that is all the wiring that we need. So let's do a quick, oh, we lost those wires again. I heard them out of the corner of my ear, if that's even totally existent. But yeah, so let's just try to get these guys reconnected one last time. Hopefully these ones stay for this time. Actually, there is one last trick I do have up my sleeve that we can possibly use for this. And that is basically to grab a terrain anchor and use a terrain anchor to hold all these guys down. So let's go into the build, grab some of these terrain anchors. Let's put it right here, and let's turn that on. Now this is something that I don't know if it explicitly works, but it's something that we can try. It's something that might help out, so we'll give it a shot. So right now we are at 0, 0, 0. If we press our equals button, we should stay at 0, 0, 0. Now I'm gonna press it again just to cancel our enable, because remember, every time you press an enable, it'll appear, and then I want to repress the enable just to clear it, because enables are something that basically just help things sync well, just because, you know, that's what is going to make an effective clock for a computer. So let's just do 4 plus 3. So we're at 4, we have 3, and when we press our addition, do we see 0, 7? We mostly see 0, 7, except we are missing a little bit right there. Let's just check these guys, make sure that this is exactly working out. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we successfully were able to press the right buttons. We got the 0, totally fine, except the 7 here appears to not have functioned properly. And it actually looks like it's because there is no pin coming to the top mark. So let's just add the pin to the top mark, and let's just call that a success. I accidentally did forget a pin there, so I do apologize. Let's try something in the double digits this time. So let's go to, say, 6 plus 5. This should give us 11. When we press our enable button, beautiful, we now see 11. So I'd say our calculator is working. We have all of our addition working. Let's test the maximum that we can add to, which is 7 plus 7, should give us 14, which it does perfectly. And that is how we do an addition calculator. It got a little bit sketchy in this last little bit here, so I do apologize for that. We had to do some on-the-fly debug work and figure out why some things weren't working and make sure that all of these read the proper input channels. But hopefully you guys were able to follow that along. This is purely just for addition right now, but in the near future, in the very near future, we will be adding subtraction to this, which will require a little bit of its own rework. And then maybe we'll start working on maybe multiplication or some other mathematical operations, because I have plans for where this might be able to go. I've got some really cool ideas. But for now, that is our addition working. We have our effective one operation calculator. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this initial bit of this series. There will be more to come. Thank you all for hanging out for this entire series. As I have probably said many times before, it's really nice to see some people really liking this type of content, because it's highly technical and a little bit out there. But it's really nice to see that people are very supportive of it. So thank you all for your support during this mini series, and we will be continuing it with subtraction in the near future as well. But thank you guys all one more time. Thank you, and we will see you in the next part.